Representative of Nevis 4 and the leader of the opposition Nevis Reformation Party, Dr. Janice Daniel Hodge, described the 2023 budget tabled by Premier Mark Brantley as being deficient in several areas. Speaking in response to the 20th February presentation of the 2023 budget, Dr. Daniel Hodge said the presented budget does not provide hope or opportunity for the people of Nevis.
It was my hope that this 2023 budget, with the theme charting the pathway to socio-economic transformation, investing to accelerate growth, would have been an exciting and captivating read. I thought that I would have seen the pathway that would help to diversify and grow our economy, and a pathway to make lives better for the people of Nevis. Regrettably, this budget does not provide much hope for building our people or for providing opportunities in education, healthcare, childcare, or sustainable livelihoods. When we consider the global space within which we must operate and the external factors such as climate change, health crises, and the cost of living that we must cope with, one would expect to see a more robust and relevant budget. Madam President, the glaring omission of employment opportunities and lack of ideas to diversify our local economy is appalling. No creativity, no innovation, nothing new or exciting has been presented.
According to Dr. Hodge, the budget is also lacking in matters such as climate resilience and financing, as well as in the blue economy. Glenn Bart reporting for SKN Newsline.
The government of St. Kitts and Nevis met with chairman of the African Export-Import Bank, Afreximbank, Professor Dr. Benedict Orama. A press release from the government said Dr. Orama highlighted the historic agreement between St. Kitts and Nevis and Afreximbank to forge deeper economic, cultural and diplomatic ties with the Caribbean and the African continent. Of note, Dr. Orama underscored future initiatives for St. Kitts and Nevis on renewable energy, industrial parks, advantages for agriculture, enhancing trade with avenues like the Intra-African Trade Fair, and positively exploiting the country's vibrant creative economy. On February 17th, St. Kitts and Nevis became the first CARICOM nation to sign an agreement with Afreximbank when Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew signed the Memorandum of Understanding during the 44th meeting of the Conference of the CARICOM Heads of Government in the Bahamas. On Monday, the Cabinet also welcomed representatives from the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, the ECCB, to discuss the legislative agenda for the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, ECCU, which remain outstanding in St. Kitts and Nevis to date. Mr. Timothy Antoine, Governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, relayed the importance of the timely passage of legislation to support regional economic development. Dr. Terence Drew gave the ECCB the assurance that the St. Kitts and Nevis Labour Party administration would bring the requisite outstanding legislation to Parliament in quick order. The Cabinet will be engaged in a two-day leadership and governance training workshop on February 23rd and 24th. The training will cover promoting good governance, effective public sector management, ethics, integrity, and leadership competencies. This training will be facilitated by Dr. Roger Koranteng, Advisor and Head of Public Sector Governance at the Commonwealth Secretariat. I'm Andre Huey for SKN Newsline.
Hi, Tashawn Wilkin, the first Assistant Director here at MSR Media and a proud native of St. Kitts and Nevis. MSR Media established itself in the Federation 2 years ago, and in that time, we have produced 9 films in our beautiful nation with international movie stars such as Elizabeth Hurley, Kelsey Grammer, Malin Ackerman, Connie Nielsen, and country music superstar Billy Ray Cyrus, seen by millions of people and promoting our island all over the world. MSR has recently purchased the OTI Hotel, now called the MSR Hotel, which will be our new headquarters and creative hub in the Federation. We are now expanding, and there's a job for you. So, if you want to work behind the scenes on a film set, send an email to jobs@msrmediaskn.com. We have 200 jobs for the 6 movies we are producing this year. Now, if you're interested in the world of visual effects, we are creating a VFX company. because in the world of making movies, computer-generated images are crucial. So if you have computer skills and if you want a job in the high-tech business, please contact us as we are looking to hire 50 people with the computer skills for our new VFX division. There are lots of opportunities at MSR Media with 200 jobs to fill. So email your resume to jobs@msrmediaskn.com and join the MSR family today.
The SKN Newsline website now offers you more news. Log on to www.sknnewsline.com for local, regional, and international news. You can also watch the latest newscast and keep abreast with news in sports, all from sknnewsline.com. That's www.sknnewsline.com. News at your fingertips. Nestled between evergreen mountains and the Caribbean Sea on the island of St. Kitts is the Millhouse Guest House and Convention Center. With breathtaking views, a rugged, beautiful shoreline, and immaculate manicured gardens make this the perfect location for your holiday, event, or wedding. With a large convention center, apartments with balconies providing stunning views, and a secluded cottage for larger family groups or honeymooning couples looking for some privacy. We have something for everyone. Book your stay at www.millhouseskn.com or visit our Facebook page, the Millhouse Guest House and Convention Center, an oasis of tranquility.
Online radio has never been this great. It's Voice of the Caribbean Radio at voiceofthecaribbean.net. Tune into Voice of the Caribbean Radio for great Caribbean programs, news, entertainment, sports, and current affairs. Wake up each morning and be inspired with One Day at a Time with Kim Huey. Stay abreast with news across the Caribbean and internationally with the Caribbean News Hour, and be entertained with shows like Reggaeville, Caribbean Classics, and Jive Music Show. Visit our website, download our Android mobile app, or listen us on TuneIn Radio. There is so much more on Voice of the Caribbean Radio, reaching the Caribbean and beyond. Check website or app for program schedule.
While tabling a 2023 budget for the Nevis Island administration of over $261 million, Premier Mark Brantley, the Minister of Finance, said in his 20th February budget address that economic growth and job creation are key themes. Premier Brantley tabled the Appropriation Bill 2023 in the Nevis Island Assembly that would undergo debate over the next few days. According to the Minister of Finance, the estimates provide a pathway for facilitating growth, development, and transformation on the social and economic fronts. Brantley outlined some areas of critical expenditure while emphasizing prudent fiscal responsibility.
Madam President, a summary of resources projected to date to finance our 2023 expenditure program are outlined as follows. Current revenue, $146.5 million. CBI proceeds, $66 million. Bank of Nevis loan, $5.5 million. Taiwanese grant, $4.5 million. Social Security loan, $1 million. I wish to make it abundantly clear that annual budgets are merely projections for revenue and expenditure. Even though we have made these projections, we are fully aware that our ability to undertake this level of expenditure will naturally be limited by our ability to gain access to funding. Our major priority will be to complete the work on the new wing at the Alexandra Hospital, and other projects started last year but are still incomplete before venturing to start work on any new projects. We must complete existing projects before starting new projects. I further wish to assure the public that we will not be reckless with our spending and will only seek to undertake capital projects if the funding becomes available and can be accessed at low cost in accordance with our debt management strategy. Where funding is not available, Madam President, or cannot be accessed at concessionary rates, we will curtail our expenditure program and carry forward to the next fiscal period any projects which were not executed due to the lack of approved funding.
No new taxes were introduced. However, mechanisms will be instituted to improve the collection of tax revenue during the fiscal year. Glenn Bout reporting for SK Newsline.
The St. Kitts Nevis National Reparations Committee is working behind the scenes even if it seems nothing is being done, assured the chairperson of the committee, Carla Astafan. She was a guest on Tuesday's edition of Issues Talk Show on Freedom FM, where she was asked whether she felt the reparations movement across the Caribbean, and specifically St. Kitts and Nevis, will yield any fruits in this lifetime.
I was at a retreat last year when Sir Hilary Beckles said, in 1824, enslaved Africans working in the fields, would they have thought that 10 years later there would be an abolition act? Okay? So we do not know what tomorrow is going to bring. At least we are already beginning to see that some people are coming forward. So it is possible. It is possible. The same way, in 1818, 1824, even in 1833, enslaved people did not know that freedom was going to come. They were fighting for their freedom. They were resisting enslavement. They were having riots and uprisings and so on. But they did not know until England decided, to pass that legislation. So we are hopeful. And the thing is, we have to have a groundswell of support pushing that agenda, just like abolitionists were doing it, and just like our ancestors were pushing for freedom, so too we have to push for reparations. And that's my final word.
For the past few years, regional grouping CARICOM has started a movement to push for reparations from former colonial powers and relevant institutions of those countries to the nations and people of the Caribbean. I'm Andre Huey for SKN Newsline.
It's beautiful. He took one look at you and the angels started singing.
Another wonderful day.
Ah!
What would you say about staying here for a few months or like a year, just so that we can be together again and just live and love and laugh and have fun and breathe?
Why are you hiding out on a little Caribbean island, singing in a beach bar?
When I came here, I was at peace, and I never left.
This is the beating heart of Nevis. This is what grounds me, what feeds my soul. It's where I found myself.
I hope your life here will be full of joy. Love this island, my son. She will give you more than you can imagine.
The SKN Newsline website now offers you more news. Log on to www.sknnewsline.com for local, regional, and international news. You can also watch the latest newscast and keep abreast with news in sports, all from sknnewsline.com. That's www.sknnewsline.com. News at your fingertips.
Online radio has never been this great. It's Voice of the Caribbean Radio at voiceofthecaribbean.net. Tune into Voice of the Caribbean Radio for great Caribbean programs, news, entertainment, sports, and current affairs. Wake up each morning and be inspired with One Day at a Time with Kim Huey. Stay abreast with news across the Caribbean and internationally with the Caribbean News Hour, and be entertained with shows like Reggaeville, Caribbean Classics, and Jive Music Show. Visit our website, download our Android mobile app, or listen us on TuneIn Radio. There is so much more on Voice of the Caribbean Radio, reaching the Caribbean and beyond. Check website or app for program schedule.
If you're looking for a place to host that special event, conference, meeting, social event, party, whatever the occasion, your best option is the Millhouse Convention Center, Palmetto Point, St. Kitts. Located on the picturesque Garvey's Estate, the Millhouse Guest House Convention Center has enough space for outdoor events overlooking the Caribbean Sea. If you're looking indoors, the center is equipped with amenities needed to make your event a success. And by combining both spaces, you're sure to have a memorable event, no matter the occasion. Call the offices at Millhouse Guest House and Convention Center to book your next event on simply the most beautiful place in St. Kitts. Call 668-1392. Millhouse Convention Center at Garvey's Estate, Palmetto Point, St. Kitts. Making your event memorable.
Carnival is back. The mother of all carnivals, as it is fondly called, returned to the big stage on Carnival Monday with all the pomp and flair of years gone by. Following Juve celebrations early Monday morning, carnival characters such as the Jab Molassie, Baby Doll, Dame Lorraine, Midnight Rubber and Fancy Indian made their way across the Savannah stage. Then it was on to the medium and large bands, whose patrons expressed joy at being able to return to the stage after 2 years. TTT News caught up with masqueraders from K2K, Lost Tribe and Paparazzi.
Well, it's great. I never did this one before. It's a good change from working in the operating room. This is a much better place to work.
Great! Great! We've been waiting for 3 long years. This is it. This is it. Hey, Carnival! This is my first time and I love it.
Kimberly D'Souza, TTT News.
The opposition People's National Party is calling on the Minister of Finance to state whether the FBI is in fact involved in the investigation at Stocks and Securities Limited SSL.
Our call comes against the background of a statement by the head of CTOC, SSP Anthony McLaughlin, who stated that the local law enforcement has the capacity to conduct the investigation and did not need the assistance of the FBI at this time. This is in stark contrast to prior public statements made by the Minister of Finance that the FBI was to be engaged in the investigation. So we have the head of CTOC directly contradicting what the Minister of Finance says. The country needs to know what the true position is, whether the FBI is actually here, who they are engaged in with, and what the scope of reference of the work that they're doing here.
Opposition spokesman on finance Julian Robinson reiterated his call for improved transparency in the ongoing SSL investigation and the role of the Financial Services Commission, calling for the release of all reports the FSC had done in relation to SSL.
To include the minutes of board meetings and reports from the FSC management to the board. We're also reiterating our call for a special audit to be done of the FSC by the Auditor General's Department to determine the appropriateness of the actions of the FSC and whether it had the resources and technical expertise to carry out its function.
Finally, Mr. Robinson is calling on the Ministry of Finance to conduct an audit of all government agencies and public bodies.
To ensure that they are adhering to the Ministry of Finance's guidelines re the investment of public funds in financial institutions. We had an issue 2 years ago where the Airports Authority made an investment in First Rock. We need to be assured that all public bodies are following the correct guidelines.
Joel Crosskill, CVM Live.
Well, 2 weeks after earthquakes flattened much of the region and killed more than 46,000 people, southern Turkey has been hit by another earthquake. The country's Disaster and Emergency Agency said a 6.3 magnitude tremor struck close to the city of Antakya at 8 o'clock in the evening, local time. It was followed by 3 aftershocks, the strongest of which was a 5.8 near the town of Samandag. Here's more from Azadeh Moshiri.
A familiar feeling, the ground shaking, the instant fear, the rush to safety. Reports of more deaths began to trickle in, just weeks after the area was devastated by an historic earthquake.
Same fear, same feeling of unease. We can't enter inside. If we do, we can't stay. We don't know what to do. God have mercy on us.
Yet more buildings have collapsed. That means more rescue operations to save people trapped in the rubble. Officials warn people to leave any potentially dangerous buildings. So instead, they once again gathered around ruins. This latest earthquake was felt across the region, including Syria. The country was already torn apart by a civil war. Its hospitals are overwhelmed.
If we continue to live in this fear and if there are more aftershocks, we'll stay in tents. We'll look for shelter until the situation calms down.
Officials have recorded more than 6,000 aftershocks since the first deadly earthquake hit weeks ago. This latest episode is a reminder that the danger is not over yet. Azadeh Moshiri, BBC News.
After days of speculation and no doubt weeks of planning, US President Joe Biden arrived in the Ukrainian capital Kyiv nearly a year to the day that Russia invaded. The White House said there had been basic communication with Moscow just before the visit to ensure what it called deconflictation and to avoid a miscalculation that could lead to open conflict between the two nuclear powers. An air raid siren wailed across the city as the two men walked near St. Michael's Cathedral. Not uncommon when world leaders have visited Kyiv since the war began. The US president described the night of the invasion when he called the Ukrainian leader. He admitted he had feared Russia could quickly take control of all of Ukraine.
That dark night, 1 year ago, the world was literally at the time bracing for the fall of Kyiv. Seems like a lot longer ago than a year, but think back to that year. Perhaps even the end of Ukraine. You know, 1 year later, Kyiv stands, and Ukraine stands. Democracy stands. The Americans stand with you, and the world stands with you.
Biden announced an additional $500 million in US aid, but there was no mention of new advanced weaponry such as long-range missiles that Zelensky says his forces need. The Ukrainian president stressed again there will be no peace until Ukraine liberates all its territory, a promise that is among many military analysts and some of Ukraine's allies increasingly unrealistic as the vast cost of this war and its global effects continues to grow.
It was the conversation that indeed brings closer our joint victory in this war. We can and we must ensure that 2023 becomes the year of victory. I want to underline that this unprovoked and criminal Russian war against Ukraine and the entire democratic world must end with the liberation of Ukrainian land from Russian occupation, and with solid guarantees of long-term security for our country, Europe, and the entire world.
US President's first visit to Ukraine, almost exactly a year since Russia's invasion, is rich in symbolism and a clear message to Moscow. For Biden, Zelensky, and many of Ukraine's backers, maintaining unified support comes at a vital time before an expected intensification of fighting in a so-called spring offensive. Charles Stratford, Al Jazeera, Kyiv.
Football came to Newtown on Saturday with two exciting matches. The home side, Honda Newtown United, hosting Jones Group's Sandy Point FC. Newtown came out victors 2-1 in a very tense affair that saw both teams seeing players sent off in the first half with straight red cards. Jalen Burt of Sandy Point and Leranji Libert of Newtown were both sent off in the 23rd minute for violent conduct. Goal scorers for Newtown, Kennedy Rodriguez scoring from the penalty spot in the 11th minute, Johannes Mitchum scoring in the 45th minute. The lone goal from Sandy Point came in the second half, the 63rd minute, from Anthony Alves. Coach Anthony Nets Isaac of Newtown was pleased with the outcome of the match.
It's been good. During the practice sessions, we see that the stuff coming out in the game that it's not 100% yet, but we're getting there.
Assistant manager of Sandy Point FC, Shane Jeffers, said his team competed well, but were just unable to get the equalizing goal.
We basically gave ourselves a chance in the second half. We had to make some changes, 2 red cards in the first half on either team. So a few adjustments from the coach, second half, and we bore food to that.
In the second match of Saturday's doubleheader, defending champions SL Horses St. Paul's United finally got a win after drawing 0-0 last week with Old Road. They brushed aside Hobson Enterprises' Garden Hotspurs 3-1. Ordell Fleming scored for St. Paul's, his first for his new team in the 10th minute. Keithworth Freeman added a second in the 19th minute, and Malik Clark sealed the victory in the 68th minute. For Spurs, Jabez Dorset scored the consolation goal in the 83rd minute. Jamal Jeffers of St. Paul's, the goalkeeper, was sent off with a straight red card in the 53rd minute for denying an obvious goal-scoring opportunity. The SKNFA Premier League continues this Friday with matches at the Newtown playing field.
Welcome to the SKN Newsline Weather Report. I am Janil Boole. Here is a look at the forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis. More detailed weather report, visit our website at www.sknnewsline.com.